some of the things I mentioned was I just wish that people would read both sides of the issue or both sides of the story. You know, they always had that funny joke and they're saying it's always three sides to the story. Your side, my side, and the truth. You know, but a lot of times that's real.
Right.
You know, we joke about it, but a lot of times that's real. And I think that fits for a situation like this because like we always say, we not them flies on that wall. We not the people that was in that room when they said, look, we can do this, but we got to go by A, B, and C, and then we can proceed on. So we will definitely get to that situation. So we're going to start off with some scores. We're going to do NBA scores, NHL scores first, so we can get into the NFL talk with those scores and get right into that Steelers Browns game. I mean, it's funny now, but we gotta talk about it because it's current. And like I said, with the addition of the comments from Vontaze Burfict, of course, you know, we had to add that in. Had to add that. Definitely had to make that part of the show. So we will get to that. So getting right into it, as you see, we are both representing Philadelphia 76ers today. After a nice win yesterday, should have been the second win against this team, but definitely needed that. The Sixers beat the Cavaliers 114-95. The Celtics fall to the Kings 100-99. The Magic defeat the Wizards 125-121. The Nuggets demolish the Grizzlies 131-114. Warriors fall to the Pelicans 108-100, and the Lakers defeat Atlanta Hawks 122-101 in front of Mr. Kobe Bryant. So, NHL, the Flames fall to the Golden Knights 6-0, and the Sabres fall to the Blackhawks 4-1. So, that being said, we're gonna get into these NFL scores, and ironically, once we go through the list, ironically. It was a Thursday night game, so that's the first score on the list. Folks, we are Facebook Live, SportsRap Radio Show is the group page where you can find us. I see somebody is tuned in. So what I always tell you folks, you know, we having a little trouble with the phone lines here in the new building. So I need you to give me a thumbs up, give me something, wave at us, give us a comment, let us know who you are and who is tuned in. You could possibly get a shout out on air. So we like to know who's listening to us and who's tuned in. So if you're tuned in or when you tune in, be sure that you let us know. I can see everything from here. Like I said, I see right now it's showing that one person is tuned in. That one person is me because I'm tuning in so I can see who else is tuning in. So if you are tuning in or when you get ready and you get tuned in, please give us a comment, a shout, a like or something. Let us know that you are tuned in. Thursday, kicking off week 11, Cleveland, Pittsburgh. Cleveland takes that game 21-7. That is one of the hot topics of the day, hot topic of the week. So we will get back to that. Moving on to yesterday's games. Dallas defeats Detroit 35-27. Jacksonville falls to Indianapolis 33-13. Buffalo defeats Miami 37-20. Denver gives the game away, gives the game back to Minnesota and fall 27-23. New Orleans defeats Tampa Bay 34-17. The Jets defeat the Redskins 34-17 as well. Atlanta gets back into the winning column, beating Carolina 29-3. Houston gets blown out by Baltimore 41-7. San Francisco comes back and beats Arizona in a tough one. It was a fight to the finish.
Both times we played that.
Fight to the finish. So there you have it. That is that score. Cincinnati falls to Oakland 17-10. Could there be some sights of a possible turnaround in Oakland?
It looks like it. It looks like they found the curve. They found an ingredient that they can really bake a cake with, and they've been playing pretty good, man.
Yeah.
Surprisingly, they've been playing pretty good despite what the beginning of the game was
like. Maybe they need to get rid of Vontaze.
Sometimes Sometimes you gotta take a couple teaspoons
Hey
of
man,
sugar out of there.
take one for the team, right? Man. It's
And
all
it
right.
seems
It's
like
all right, man.
I hate to say that it seemed like that was the ingredient, but it seems
Yeah.
as though something has clicked with this team,
Something, yeah.
and they've been making moves. They've definitely been playing.
Yeah, that's good. That's good for them. Philadelphia falls to New England, 17-10, and the LA Rams outlast the Chicago Bears, 17-7 on Sunday Night Football. Coming up tonight, closing out Week 11, Kansas City at the LA Chargers. So,
Shout out to Jules. Jules tuning in right now, talking
that's
his talk.
what's going on.
You know, Colts fan over here.
Yeah. So, let's get into this Pittsburgh Cleveland situation.
Mm-hmm.
And shout out to a good friend of mine, always giving me good input, Howard Fiddler, college friend, good friend, all the way from Minnetonka, Minnesota, chiming in. And some of the things he mentioned about this was he was one of the ones that initially pulled my coattail with the suspensions and the fines and everything. And he posed the question about no one was talking about Pouncey, and no one was talking about Pouncey getting his 3 games, and he said no one was talking about Rudolph not getting any suspensions or anything as of yet. But it has recently been put out that Rudolph will get some type of fine. It's been coming out more and more that he was the initiator of the entire incident.
Right.
So you have people that have gotten fined or whatever, got suspended, and it goes back to the whole thing that we talked about, I think, stemming back to last year when the NFL starts to want to have some respect and have some kind of conscience about the health of their product, of their players, if you will. And that's what we talked about when we talked about Vontaze Burfict. And I told a lot of people that not taking up for the dude, because I know that he does do some things. I've seen it, it's his history, whatever. But some of the hits that he got flagged for, I think I can't say overlook them. In certain situations, I guess you have to call them. And we know how poor the refereeing has been all in general. So, but some of those are, I'm going to stretch and say, instinctual mistakes, mental mistakes. And I don't mean mental mistakes where it's like it's an intention or not an intention, but it causes changes the game in some type of way, which it does. But I don't think that that intention was there. I think he was just playing football from the way he was taught to play football.
Right.
He's a linebacker.
To be aggressive. Right.
Linebackers are taught to be aggressive,
attacking
back all the way down to Pop Warner.
Right.
Because you're essentially the initial attack on an offensive play. Take away the defensive line, because you know that's a given. Got to have a decent line because the ball's got to be snapped. But the linebackers are that basic front line of the defense. So they're taught to be aggressive. And when you throw these rules in willy-nilly like you do randomly, the NFL did and has done, it causes some uncertainty. It causes some concern among the players. Because now I got to worry about being 300 pounds, 6'4", and I'm in pursuit of the football like I'm taught. But I gotta pay attention to see if the quarterback is speaking now, I gotta pay attention to see if he gets rid of the ball. Now I got 2 steps, so they say, and then I said I can't touch him or whatever. A lot of times that's momentum.
Yeah.
Sometimes you can't. And I hate those penalties, and I think that's another thing that I think the NFL and the referees need to look at. You're right there. If I can see it on TV, you gotta be able to see that it's momentum right there.
It's that whole thing that they talk about, bang bang plays, and I mean, I don't know if this analogy fits, but it's no different than being a race car driver. You're going to 300 miles, 200 something miles an hour, but you're also taught as that race car driver to have, I guess, respect for the other drivers when you're being an aggressive driver, to not bump, to not hit, but you know that's part of the game.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? You know that when you hit this curve, you're going to have guys that's going to come in front of you and do these things. So how do you react? And the sport of football is a reaction sport.
Absolutely.
You know, I'm going 1,000 miles an hour, and now my brain has to say, did he get rid of the ball? Does he have 2 feet down? Did he make a move after the ball? Can I hit him now?
Mm-hmm.
Can I not hit him now?
Right.
You know, and it's just, I mean, Rodney Harrison about maybe 7 years ago, I think it was a year or so after his retirement, said, you know, I'm a certified ref now. I'm part of the referee association, trying to make my way in. But the way these rules are being incorporated into the league, give us 5 years from now, we'll be playing rough touch.
Oh yeah.
And it's almost at that
You know
point.
what? I'm thinking it might be less than that.
It might be less than that.
You know, but he strikes a very, very good point. So, folks, if you have been living in a cave, under a rock, whatever, you know the situation. There's a huge, huge fight on
The Rumble
Thursday
in the jungle.
in Cleveland. Helmets were torn, were ripped off. Helmets were used as weapons. There were punches. There were kicks thrown. Ultimately, there have been suspensions. But the reason I wanted to bring this up and I wanted to talk about it today is because this can actually stretch across all sports. We've seen fights in all sports. You know, we've seen baseball, bench dugout clearing, brawls.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we've seen, like baseball, we've seen the one with the Yankees and the Red Sox. I think when the manager, guys like, what was he, 70 something at the time?
Yeah.
He gets punched in the face, gets knocked down. So we've seen it. We've seen it in the NBA, the malice at the palace.
Mm-hmm.
You know, of course, we've seen it in the NFL, the most violent of the sports. Hockey, I kind of give a pass because they're allowed to fight to a certain extent, but the referees will get in and break that up. So, in my opinion, that there's no place for this in any of the major sports, because what it does is it heightens, and I'm speaking of the NFL now, it heightens the already cautiousness of the players going against the rules. And now you have this type of instance. First, it was just a lot of the suspensions for mostly pushing and shoving, or for the what they call unnecessary roughness and the hits and things of that nature. But now you legitimately had someone attacked on a football field. And, you know, of course, a lot of the media and a lot of social advocates or whatever have tried to throw the slider or the curveball, if you will, in there and try to make it about a race issue. And this is stemming from, like we said, the initial suspensions and Mason Rudolph being omitted from the initial suspension. Still, he probably won't get any suspension.
Right.
But he will be fine. So I can kind of see where you could make a play and throw that curveball in there. It's not really a place in this whole thing for it. I mean, if you look at the grand scheme of things, because could have happened the other way.
Right.
You know, I mean, allegedly they're saying that he started the fight. So, again, like we always say, you have to take into consideration, I understand these guys are professional athletes. They're playing a professional sport. But they are human.
True.
You know, the incident happened, we saw it on TV, but we'll never directly pinpoint the strike or the blow or whatever, if you will. So you kind of put yourself in that position and you say, I don't know, I might have done something too. You know, and you know, it's always that catch-22 where you can easily sit here and say, well, I would have did this and then this and that.
Right.
Not being in that situation like a lot of us do, myself included. But it has to be something put in place to finalize the rules. Stop adjusting the rules on the fly. Because to this day, we still don't know what a pass interference call is.
Right.
We still don't know what that is.
Yeah.
And in a lot of instances, we still don't know what a completed catch is.
True.
And perfect example, I believe the Eagles were robbed out of a fumble yesterday.
Yeah, on that play they were.
That
was a true fumble.
You know.
But I looked at also the whole melee on that field. So let's pick apart some of the parts and let's try to recreate something that's not there. All right. Let's take away the helmet throw or the helmet swing.
Right.
And let's go to the initial thing. Well, you're taught to play to the whistle blows, whether it's 8 seconds left, 2 seconds left. Okay. So he tackled him. He doesn't slam them into the ground. They literally fall over
each other. Yeah.
Okay. So now you got a man trying to tear a helmet off of another player. Let's stop it right there.
Right.
If that's all that happened, would we be looking at fines and things of that nature?
No.
Because of the severity of what happened next. Translates everything else. But the fact that this man was trying to tear his helmet off gets kind of overlooked by the guy throwing the helmet. So when you look at what transpired next, is like you said, like we talked about, reaction. So now I got one dude, I got another guy from your team grabbing me, and then you coming after me.
Yeah, he trying to pull my helmet off, and then you grabbing me.
So y'all trying to roll him.
Yeah. So it's like, wait, and before you even get that far, bro, you forget my helmet is connected to my head.
Exactly.
So instinct, flash of the moment, you're trying to take my head off.
Now I get my head stomped and everything else after that.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, I see it's all reactionary after the fact. But let's go back to the beginning. The man got mad because he got tackled because they was getting their butt kicked and the game was over. If that's the case, take a knee.
Yeah.
But you hike the balls if you want to try to make something happen. So I'm still in action mode. So you can't get mad at me for tackling you when you still playing the game.
Right. You did your job, I did my job. You
called
for the snap, and my job, go get the quarterback.
And that's my job.
That's what I did.
And everything after that is reactionary again. You know, he said that, he lost his cool. Rightly so. You got a man grabbing you up and another man coming to attack you. You reacted in a way that probably listen, you're a football player.
Right.
You know what I mean? You're a guy that probably came from the slums, from not having, from fighting, from rumbling. So you know when somebody else grabbing you, it's war. It's time to rumble.
Absolutely.
Swinging a helmet, you got to pay for that. Because you know in the rules,
he was wrong.
And the object is what it is. Does he feel remorse? I think he feels more remorse of letting his team down, putting his team in a situation where they got to go without him. More so than what his activity was in that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I also think a little bit of his remorse is his actions. I think he's one of the few that I think is taking ownership of his actions. Like, of course, it's a professional situation, so of course there's going to be an apology. Of course, because it's an organization. Right? They're going to, like we always say, they're going to protect the house.
Damage.
Yeah. So you're going to have to apologize. You got to apologize at some point, whatever. But I think his apology and him being removed from the situation on the outside now looking in is a little different than other instances because, like you said, he feels what he did. He feels like I let myself down.
Right.
I let my team down. And I really didn't have to use that helmet as a weapon. Not saying that it meant to be, but again, like we said, heat of the moment. You know, and like you just mentioned, Bob, you trying to take my helmet off. You're trying to rip my helmet off my head first.
Now you attacking.
Now you attacking me, and I got people holding me.
But in the narrative, who's the victim?
Right now,
who's the victim now?
Now who's the victim? Right now, in the narrative,
guy gets hit with the helmet.
The guy that gets hit with the helmet is the victim. But he just trumped the person that swung the helmet, who was previously the victim. But nothing is, like you said, nothing said about that. Him being held and the guy still attacking him and all that. All they're saying is, oh, he swung the helmet.
Mm-hmm.
Well, in a weird kind of way, putting myself in them shoes, I gotta defend myself.
Yeah, man, at the end of the day,
And
you
again,
don't have no choice.
and like I said, folks, we be here debating, we here talking to bring you some points that will not be brought to you by the mainstream media. So some of the stuff that we are saying, and we're laughing about, as you see, we're joking. But again, I gotta protect myself.
There's truth behind every joke.
Yeah, I gotta protect myself.
Yeah.
You know, I can't just have you running around holding me and somebody else attacking me and I not be able to do nothing. Now, I'm not condoning the swinging of the helmet,
Right.
but I understand how that played out in the heat of that moment.
It's reaction and not true malice.
Right.
Malice in the Palace was, and even when Ron Artest explained it, you know, it was, he had time from the time he got up off that scoreboard, walking in that stand, to go get whoever threw it. He had time to chill out. There was no time with Myles Garrett. There was no time. It was bang, like a bang bang play. Boom, 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 boom. It was less seconds in between than opposed to when Ron Artest and Jermaine O'Neal and they come out the stands and swinging on somebody else. Like there was time in between for them. There was no time here.
No, that was all instinct.
It was all instinct. And so the instinct that Rudolph had to try to snatch his helmet off was the same instinct that Myles Garrett had of swinging that helmet. Yeah. And they're not being treated as such because one is looked at with extreme intent to harm.
And that's part of the reason that I think people are trying to add the race issue in because, of course, you got the Caucasian quarterback, the African American linebacker. But people, in this situation, it's not really a good, I'm not going to say legitimate, it's not really a good fight because when you look at the grand scheme, and I keep saying the grand scheme, but I have to let you understand. When you look at the whole picture, you're looking at the NFL. As jaded as it is, if you pick 9 linebackers that are about their business, like Myles Garrett is, 9. You pick. Let's say you pick 10. I'm gonna go on the stretch and say 8 of them are African American, and I know it's probably 10 if you had to pick them, but 8 of them, just for sake of discussion, are African American. Quarterback situation has been what it is. It's starting to evolve. It's starting to change. But people, you got to understand that is, for whatever it's worth, the unfortunate makeup of the NFL and a lot of these professional sports. Yeah. The more skilled, aggressive positions are with the minorities, what the other skills, the quarterback and offensive lineman, where they think you are supposed to be cerebral or extremely cerebral, go to the Caucasian players, which I think is a crock because you got plenty of African Americans who are just as cerebral, if not more, than a lot of these dudes now. I mean, you can look at the quarterback situation in the NFL right now. Lamar Jackson, Deshaun Watson are better than Mason Rudolph right now.
True.
Better than
way better
Aaron Donald.
Way
right
better.
Right now, better than Jared Goff.
Way better. Ain't even close.
So, like I said, that landscape is beginning to evolve, is beginning to change. But that's where people get the racial, and that's what I mean when I say it's not a good fight. Like I said, people are gonna fight. They're gonna try and fight it anyway, just because they can. Like I said, they're gonna throw that curveball in there. But the argument is going to be tough. I'm not going to say you can't have an argument. Of course you can have an argument, but it's real tough because, like we said, and we always say, they're going to protect the house. Yeah. It's a multi-billion-dollar operation. Yeah. They're going to protect the house. So they're going to revert back to that. And You heard it from SportsRap first. But if it gets to that point, they're not going to directly say it. But everything that they do, if this comes out a little bit bigger than what it is as far as the racial aspect of this whole incident, it's going to filter down to what I just said, the grand scheme, the aggressive nature positions against the skilled, alleged cerebral positions go where they go, and they're going to use that as their fight, and making one positional player seem more violent than the other. When that whole situation the aggression was taken out when you got into attack mode.
Right.
Football, the tackle, okay, could have been a little bit of aggression there, but it's football.
Right.
Now, when you still go to try to take my helmet off, and then you come to attack me, I got people holding me.
You're going outside of that.
Now you're outside of that. So, with that being said, folks, it is what it is. We got the suspensions. We know what we have. Now, moving along to add insult to injury, we all know about Mr. Vontaze Burfict. We all do. We all know Vontaze Burfict, who was suspended earlier this season for a hit, and he had a track record.
A long track record.
Long track record. So this is part of what I meant when I mentioned about Myles Garrett, and I felt like him being sincere with his apology, even though we knew it was coming because it's just nature that it's going to happen. And comparing these two, and I saw this immediately, and I made it note to bring it to add into this part, and it's Vontaze Burfict rips Roger Goodell for his 12-game suspension. He calls him a total, you know what. So, what Vontaze Burfict is saying is that he believes that these suspensions that were just handed out were somewhat thought about, somewhat strategized about, and they were handed down in a way where he feels like he should not have gotten what he got on face value of each incident. Comparison face value on each incident. If you look at it like that, he's got a legit argument. He's got a decent argument. Because he can say, well, they got violent. I was just aggressive. I might have been overly aggressive. They got violent. So how is that the same?
Yeah, and it's not the same.
So you can see his argument.
So he can fight that.
Yeah, he can fight it.
And I think he is reinstated.
And I think he is going to now.
Yeah.
Because he also put out there that, and I quote, he said when he went into the meeting, he said he didn't let anybody speak. And I'm talking about Vontaze Burfict is speaking in reference to Roger Goodell. And I quote, he didn't let anybody speak. He rushed us in and out of the meeting. The meeting was BS. He already had the suspension in his hand, end quote. Now, the only thing I have to say about this part is I understand what you're saying. They came in, they knew what they was going to do anyway. You wanted to come talk? All right, you can come talk, but it is what it is. Yeah. We already got what we going to do. Now, my point with this is I see where he's saying, wait, I didn't even get a chance to say anything. You
didn't get a chance to
now
defend himself.
Not so much in defense of the NFL, but what could possibly have been their angle. Dude, you got a track record.
Right.
You've been suspended before. This is an ongoing situation.
This is nothing new to you.
Listen, in a lot of workplaces in the real world, you get to that point, it ain't no more suspensions.
Right.
Duh, you clean out your locker.
You go.
You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, turn in your badge, turn in your keys, whatever tools you got, clean out your locker, we'll send your check in the mail.
But we know how the NFL is.
But we know how
we understand that, there's merit of different discrepancies that you have or things that you do outside of football takes a backseat to what you do in football.
Right.
A lot of times these guys have cases off the field that never materialize to the penalty that they have on the field. There's guys that had all types of DUIs and stuff like that. It only had one game. But now here's a guy that's, all right, you call him cheap shot, and you'll suspend him for the whole year.
Whole year.
So you rather have a guy that's doing cheap shots, or the guy that's killing people with vehicular homicides?
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? So we know how the NFL kind of gauges. They trump different things in your character over others because of what you can do physically and what you produce on that field can bring them cash.
Oh yeah.
Now you having a vehicular homicide is a hiccup to them.
Yeah.
But we can't have you out here back chop blocking and late hits because that's concussions.
Yeah.
But running somebody over on a Miami street, didn't happen on our field. So, it's weird how that works. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, I mean, they got their own rules, but I think he's going to have a case to be able to say, hey, listen, I know I got this little back. I know I got this track record. I know I got a little issue.
Yeah, I know.
But come on. What happened here is not equivalent to what I've done.
Absolutely.
And he's going to have a good case. He's going to have a good way to fight against that. Yeah, and that's something for the collective bargaining agreement to deal with. CBA got to deal with that too, along with his lawyer.
Yeah.
And they're going to address this. He might be able to come back.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And like you said, on face value, he's got a serious, legit argument for his case. You know, and he even goes further in that article when he says, it got to the point where referees would tell coaches and the league officers would tell coaches, Montez Burfict is playing, look, keep an eye on it. He can't do this. He can get away with this, but he can't do that. And he said he even tried to give a comparison of some clean hits and some dirty hits that he had got tape of and whatnot. Try to make the argument that in some instances I'm not going to be able to help it. Like if it's a play, and let's say a lot of plays that happen in the NFL, a swing play, where you automatically shift the defense one way to run the opposite way. Now I got to hustle back and make this play. I'm hustling back to make this play. I'm not thinking about I can't hit him with my helmet. But in my mind, being a football player for as long as I've been, he's going to either brace for the hit or he's going to try and hit me to get me off of him. So I got to meet him with the same aggression.
Right.
In some type of way, but it gets boggled up when you have to stop and think. Now I got to make sure I keep my head up, which is a normal tackle. I got to go tackle, but I got to keep my head up. I got to make sure I don't hit him. Now my hands, I might have to reach out a little bit so I can't touch the face mask. So what am I going to do with my left hand? What am I going to do with my right hand? How am I going to take this angle? How am I going to tackle this dude when I know, and a lot of plays we've been talking about in the flat, it's a running back. Running backs are taught, keep your feet moving, put your head down, get low. What am I to do?
Yeah, you had a disadvantage as a defender.
So,
and another thing, D, not to cut you off, but another thing is, he's kind of looked at as like the Rasheed Wallace of the NFL.
Right.
Where he also said about the referees, he's had referees curse at him to try to get him to engage so they can
give him technique.
Right. So, it's kind of weird that all that stuff goes on. But now you're this aggressive player that's being taught to be tamed.
Absolutely.
And that takes away from being on the field. It's just amazing.
And it takes away from the player themselves. So let's wrap this up. It was great dialogue. So hopefully, folks, you can get hold of that soon. I'll probably put this up on the podcast later if you miss it today. Right now, we are going to get into our football picks for Week 12. And then we'll close this segment out, take a quick break, and come back and get into some of the other things that we have in store for the show. Thursday, we got tonight, closing out Week 11. I said Kansas City Chiefs at LA Chargers. We know that game. So Thursday, we'll kick off Week 12. We got Indianapolis at Houston.
All right, Jules.
Jules, who are you picking in this game?
All right, Jules.
Who are you picking in this game? Listen,
Don't let me
I,
down,
I
Jules.
like what y'all are doing. I'm glad to see Brissett doing well, but unfortunately, coming off of that shellacking, I think they are going to refocus at home. Going to be a close one. I'm going to stretch. I'm going to go Houston at home in a close one.
You know what, man? I'm gonna go ahead, man. I'm gonna take, I'm gonna take Indy. I think Indy can edge them
That's a
at
good,
least by
that's a
3.
good pick, though.
I think they can get them by 3.
Yeah, like I said,
No,
I think it's going to be a tough one. Okay, Tampa Bay at Atlanta.
I'm gonna go ATL.
Yeah, I'm
Kind
going
of
with
tough to
Atlanta
do,
at
but
home.
they both
Yeah,
stink
I
to me.
mean, and with that, you know, at least you have a little bit more faith or a little bit more trust in what's his name? What's his name?
Who, Matty Ice?
Yeah, Matty Ice than
Yeah.
you do in Jameis Winston. I drew a blank there because they have been so bad. But of course, you got a little bit more trust in Matty Ice than you do in Jameis. Denver at Buffalo. I'm going with Buffalo. I don't know what happened to Denver yesterday.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with
They gave
Buffalo
that game
too.
away, so I'm going with Buffalo. New York Giants at the Chicago Bears.
I'm going with the Bears.
Going with the Bears as well at home. Pittsburgh at Cincinnati. I like Pittsburgh on the road.
I'm gonna go Cincy. I'm gonna go with the home team.
Miami, Cleveland. It's a tough
Mm.
one. It's a tough one because again, like somewhat like the Eagles, Jekyll and Hyde. You don't know what Cleveland team is going to show up.
Yeah.
Like we said, coming off of that melee.
I might go with Miami. I'm gonna go with the road team.
You gonna go with the road team?
I'm gonna go with the road.
I'm gonna go with Cleveland. Although we still don't know what the problem is in Cleveland.
Yeah.
I just think
they're still good enough
yeah,
to beat Miami.
Yeah, I just think that you can get some kind of definitive image of them more clearer than you can with Miami. Like you can say like they have some talent.
Yeah, they do.
There,
They do.
Miami is just almost like a potpourri of football players.
Mm-hmm.
Carolina at New Orleans, going with the Saints in the dome.
Saints.
Oakland at the New York Jets.
I'm gonna go with Oaktown.
I like Oakland in this
Go with the
game
road
as
team.
well. Detroit over Washington. I like Detroit.
Yeah, I'm
over
taking
Washington.
Detroit.
Seattle at Philadelphia.
I'm gonna say this. I don't think that the Eagles will lose 2 straight home games.
I don't
That's
think
the
so
kicker to
either.
me.
And I also think that as a unit,
But
they-
Seattle playing, man.
yeah, as a unit, I think they realize what they need to do. Like yesterday, they played the defense, especially played a lot better
Yeah, they did.
yesterday.
Against the pass,
Yeah.
they played pretty
Against the
good
pass.
against that pass.
Yeah. Now, I like you said, I don't feel like they're going to lose 2 at home. I think this is going to be. I'm
I'm
going to
gonna
stretch.
go with the Eagles.
I'm gonna stretch and go with the Birds. I think it's gonna be a close game, just
Yeah.
like yesterday's game, but a little bit closer. Like yesterday's game was 7. I think this is gonna be like somewhere between 3 and 7 again,
Yeah.
somewhere
Yeah.
around there. Jacksonville at Tennessee. Going with the Jags. Minshew. I'm going with the Jags. Man. I don't. Tennessee is.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead with
nothing
the
for
Ville.
me.
I'm gonna
Oh,
go
yeah,
with the
I'm going
Ville.
with Jacksonville.
I'm going with the Ville.
Dallas at New England.
I think that New England is more refined of a team than Dallas. Dallas is still kind of scattered in identity, and you're going into New England.
I like
So,
New England.
and they're either going to have to commit to running the ball or throwing the ball. And New England's defense at home has
Right.
been balling.
And the thing that scares me about this game is the fact that Dallas has been using the big play.
Yeah,
And we all know you use the big play, which is great. Not hating or anything, but using that big play, going up against a guy like Tom Brady and the New England Patriots, you leave them time on the clock.
yeah,
And sometimes because you get the big play, you kind of graze yourself in the foot. You don't fully shoot yourself in the foot. You kind of graze yourself in the foot, and you might give them too much time to come back. So I go with New England.
Sort of what we did in Seattle.
San Fran at Green Bay at San Fran.
I'm going with my guys.
I know you're going with your guys.
I think that we're good enough to beat them at home at least by
going
2 field goals. I think we're 2 field goals better because our offense is still shaky. We still got a lot of injuries. And in the last 2 games, we have thrown the ball almost 90 times.
Yeah.
So the run hasn't been as effective because you go back 3 games ago, they said, okay, we're going to make you throw the ball.
Right.
And throwing that ball in that Seattle game was tough.
So
I think we just
I'm gonna make Frank proud. Make Frank a proud, happy man.
Niner Nation. Yeah, man.
I'm gonna go with the Niners. And I say that, and I just use comparison of what the Niners are right now, and then I look back at that Eagles game in Green Bay that the Eagles stole up there. The way the Eagles played, they got that pressure on Aaron Rodgers early, and then they did what they had to do the rest of the way. That front 4, that front 7 for San Francisco is mean.
They can get at that ball.
So yeah, I'm gonna go with San Francisco at home. And next Monday night, Baltimore at the LA Rams. Going with the guy. Going with the guy. Baltimore. So there you have it, folks. Those are your picks for week 12. We will take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk a little NBA. And then we're going to close out the show with the Colin Kaepernick. Because I know the basketball stuff, although we got some Sixers talk, it's probably going to be pretty brief because it's still early in the season. But that Kaepernick thing is the hottest topic right now. And you get everything, we know you got everything that you got on the media, the mainstream media, but now you got us. And we're going to give it to you from a different angle, different point of view. From your point of view, all of you that have been chiming in on social media, all of you that have been watching the mainstream media, we're going to give it to you from your point of view, coming from us. Stay tuned. SportsRap will be back in a few. Like, when I seen that Montez Burfict joint, I was like, bro, got